So let's talk about that hypocrisy, that contradiction, because it has been called out by different people throughout history. For example, in France, Frédéric Bastiat, a lawmaker, well, mostly an on-lawmaker, because he wanted to take away all the laws that prevented like true capitalism. A lawbreaker, yeah. And he has a very good short story about taxing the sun. The story of the candle makers, right? So he is mocking all these crazy subsidies, and he goes to the extreme of saying, well, why don't you candle makers go to parliament and ask for people to, you know, put wood in their windows and avoid the competition of the most cruel of all the competitors of all, that is the sun.
The sun, sure.
And with this, Bastiat mocks, you know, the fact that this is ridiculous. Also, you have, for example, Friedrich Hayek writing The Road to Serfdom, right? And warning about the dangers of having a totalitarian government that controls everything. Also, you have Ludwig von Mises, who talk about the anti-capitalist mentality or the evil within the socialism economic system. So what is so special about Ayn Rand? What is that she brings to the table that no one else has brought through history? And I just mentioned 3 examples, but there have been many other freedom fighters. Yeah. But what is it that she accomplishes that no one else had accomplished before?
I mean, it's basically that she presents a philosophy. If you think of Bastiat, he's fantastic. I mean, he's a genius. But he only deals with a certain layer. He only deals with that political layer. He deals with the law, and he does it beautifully and brilliantly, but he's not challenging, again, the fundamental premises that are in society. The altruism, the lack of understanding of what reason really is, and reason as being man's only, basic means of survival. Those ideas, you know, he can defend. He's not a philosopher. He's a in a sense, a legal scholar. If you look at Hayek, I mean, it's interesting to look at Ayn Rand's marginalia comments when she read The Road to Serfdom. I mean, and you read it with that in mind. He compromises all the time. Okay. He is not a principled defender of true liberty. Oh, we need a little bit of welfare. We need a little bit of this. Or we need a central bank sometimes. Or we need this here, this there. Because he doesn't have the conception of an absolutist view of the role of government is to defend individual rights, period. No buts, ifs, nothing. Yeah. And he has this conception, which Rand rejects completely, of the common good, the public interest. Again, coming from altruism. We need to care about society, not about the individual in his own pursuit of happiness, but about what's good for them and the needy, and we need to take care. So, Road to Serfdom, he talks about the slippery slope. He's on the slippery slope.
He puts us on the slippery slope. Right, and even if you think back to somebody like John Stuart Mill, known as a great champion of liberty. Sort of, kinda, and as long as it serves the public utilitarian, you know. And I think so that's a form in which the conflict, the contradiction plays out in the U.S. and always has between the public good understood on these altruists, the good of all, and, you know, the individual has to be sacrificed for the greater utility and so on, that versus the individual. And Rand gives you the foundation for understanding. And I like that your own use the word absolute. You know, you have absolute sovereignty over your own life. I mean, all that's got to be unpacked and understood in a certain way, right? But as long as you're not infringing on anybody else's rights,
right,
your life is yours. And that stands on the egoism, the morality of egoism. And that stands on, again, going back to philosophy more broadly, what she saw in the nature of reality and metaphysics and how we can know anything.